If you're in the market for a microcar, you've basically got a choice of the Fiat 500 or the Kia Picanto. Now, where the 500 is all about Euro chic, the Picanto is all boy racer, and I think it looks really, really good. It's a shame though that the performance doesn't quite live up to the looks. Welcome to this week's episode of Four Wheels in the Seat. I'm Alex Dalrymple. This is my channel where I review new cars every week. For people who might need to buy a new car and don't know which way to turn, I can help you out with a simple, easy to understand review. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, the notification bell, and if you enjoy the video, I'd love a like. The Picanto has been facelifted and I really like what they've done here. It looks quite different to how it did when I last reviewed this car back in 2021, and the look now kind of resembles more closely the Kia Sorento and Carnival. I like what they've done here with the lights, and this big long LED that goes right across the front here looks absolutely awesome. A lot of detailing down the bottom here and some shiny plastic, a couple of fake vents, but these ones here are real. Moving around to the side and profile view, kind of similar to how it was before. We've got 16-inch alloys on this top spec GT-Line model. This car is actually in adventurous green, which actually I really like. It actually works pretty well. The previous GT had a lot of red stripes in it. They've dropped that in favor of black, but you know, it works. Moving around to the back here, and we've got some new tail light clusters, again, taking on a similar look to the EV9 and Sorento. Big diffuser down the bottom there, which I think is really just for show. And underneath the boot lid here, not a lot of space, just 255 litres. Knock down the rear seats and you'll get just over 1,000. At the back here, we also have a little badge, GT-Line. Now, you mustn't confuse this with GT. In Kia land, GT is a full-throated performance car. GT-Line means you get all of the body kit, but not the performance. This really is the tiniest bonnet you're going to find in any car. Under here, we've got a 1.2 litre four-cylinder petrol engine that outputs 62 kilowatts of power and 122 Newton meters of torque. Drives its power through the front wheels only via a 4-speed automatic transmission, and fuel economy clocks in at a slightly thirsty 6 litres per 100 kilometres on a combined cycle. The previous top spec GT model was a smaller 1 litre engine that was actually more powerful than this. I don't quite understand how those numbers work, but it is what it is. Not much has changed inside the Kia Picanto. It's pretty much exactly the same as it was before, and that's actually not bad because it really didn't need an update. It's pretty good as it is. So yeah, there's a fair bit of hard plastic around the place, but it does feel quite high quality. And there's been 1 or 2 minor tech updates. The center console screen software is actually exactly the same as it was before, which is a pretty stripped back version of Kia's system, but it does include wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, which more high-spec cars did not have, but this one had it 3 years ago, still has it now, which is great. There is a sound system with 1, 2, 3, 4 speakers, and oh no, actually there's a couple of tweeters there in the top of the door as well, so 6 speakers. Yeah, it's not very good. Very rudimentary air conditioning controls under that, USB-C, USB-A ports, and a 12-volt outlet. The gear shifter here, very straightforward and simple. Like I said before, it's a 4-speed automatic, so that's pretty simple. There's some blanked out buttons here. I'd love to know what features we're not getting in this car. This is a top spec car for Australia, so maybe for overseas they get some more features that we miss out on. Handbrake, the world's tiniest center console bin. The only real change that I've managed to find in the interior of this car is the digital instrument cluster, which has replaced the analog dials that were in the previous model, now with a 7-segment sort of 1980s style speedo. We're seeing this in some of Kia's more entry-level cars at the moment, and it's found its way into the Picanto. Steering wheel, much the same as it was before, now with a flat bottom. The seats are an artificial leather, and they're actually quite comfortable, but there's no electric adjustment, no heating, and no lumbar support. So yeah, look, while there is enough room for me, and I'm not exactly short, just not the most comfortable car to sit in for a long period of time. The Picanto also comes with a security device. It is called a key. Now, this will throw any Gen Z into a fit of confusion not knowing what to do with this, because there's no on-off or stop-start button for the engine. You have to insert the key, turn it clockwise to start the engine. All right, the back seat, we know how this is gonna roll. Oh my God. Okay, behind my own seating position, which is a bit ridiculous, I clearly don't fit in here. My knees well and truly into the back of the seat. Not a whole heap of room. If you're a small child, you might be fine, but yeah, grown-ups, stay away. When I last reviewed this car a few years ago, it was the GT model, which had a smaller but more powerful 1-litre engine in it and a manual transmission. And it was an almost unbelievable amount of fun to drive. I mean, it wasn't tremendously powerful, but it was powerful enough that you could, have a bit of fun, change gears manually. It gave you a little bit of that sort of track feeling while you were driving around town, just simply because it was small and nimble. Unfortunately, Kia don't make that car anymore, at least not for Australia anyway. So the GT-Line is as good as it gets, and with the automatic transmission, it's just not as good. It's just a bit blah. You can, of course, still get a manual version of the GT-Line, but with its slightly less powerful engine, I'm not sure it would be quite as much fun. And it's just a bit sad, really, because this car really does look the part. I mean, I think this car looks far better than it did when I last reviewed it a few years ago in GT Guys. I think the GT-Line looks amazing. Now, when you drive as many different size cars as I do, because I change cars every week, you do notice that when you drive a micro car as small as this, people treat you a bit differently on the road. They're a bit more impatient, a little bit ruder, and less likely to let you merge on the freeway. I don't really like it very much. It's a bit uncomfortable. And I notice I get tooted a lot more too. People are a lot more happy to use their horns directed at me than I am if I'm driving a larger SUV. If you take more than a second to step on the accelerator at the red light, suddenly you've got this horn in the back of your head. I don't know that that would happen if I was driving, say, a Kia Sorento. When the car's going along the freeway and you're just sort of coasting, it's pretty quiet. There's not an awful lot of noise. There's a bit of external noise just because it is a smaller car. It's just not as solid as the larger one. But when you put your foot down, if you're going up an incline, it does get a bit noisy as the car drops down through the gears. And with that noise, there's not really a whole heap of acceleration, but you do kind of expect that with cars in this class. Having said that though, there are only 2 cars in this class, the Fiat 500 and this. Safety gear, well, look, it's actually pretty well stocked, but there are a couple of things missing that you would expect to find in most new cars these days. There's no front parking sensors and there's also no speed sign recognition, but we still do get adaptive cruise control and there are blind spot monitors in the wing mirrors. The ride is kind of firm and look, if I'm honest, it's actually quite dynamic going around corners. I mean, if only you could go just a wee bit faster through them, it might be fun. Now look, I'm not the most light-footed driver in the world, I'm more than happy to admit that, but the fuel economy does seem to be alarmingly high. I'm averaging 8.6 litres per 100 kilometres at the moment. This is a really small car. Is it a turn-back car, a car so good looking that you have to turn back and look at it after you parked it? Yeah, in GT-Line guides, definitely. In fact, even in the regular version, it's still a really good looking car. I think Kia have done a great job with the external appearance of the Picanto.
You can't argue with the price of the Picanto. It's pretty much the most affordable new car you can buy. But for me personally, I'd splash out just a little bit more cash for something a little bit larger, a little bit more practical, and a bit more powerful.